say, man, I want to welcome you to one of the hottest shows on social media, minus the music tonight. I want to welcome you to the War Zone. I got my good friend Donovan Sadiq in the building, the Queen, Demetra K. And tonight we are going to discuss a shaded pastor, some mold, a judge, a dying lady, and a concerned husband. The other day, I went back through my judicial endorsements, and I saw an endorsement that I made for Judge Ursula Hall. Well, the young man that's sitting on the panel with us, y'all have been here before. You know him as Spencer Farwell. You know the story of his wife has cancer and going through hell because she lived in an apartment complex owned by Pastor Isaac Matthews, and that apartment complex was built on top of a landfill. Well, I'm going back through my endorsements, and I figure out, before I even talk to Spencer, I figure out that the judge that I endorsed is the judge that's in the case with Spence. And it's a lot of funny things been going on with that case in the courtroom. Now, am I saying that the judge is doing this? I don't know. But I know it's some things that's going on in that courtroom that don't seem normal. It does not seem normal. So we decided to bring Spence back, and we'll bring him back as much as we can until we can get the help that he needs for his wife. And this pastor, Isaac Matthews, can own up to some things, because tonight we're going to talk about a few things that seem strange. So we want to welcome Spence to the program, and I'll turn it over to Demetra.
So yes, hello once again to everybody. Welcome to Wednesday night edition of the War Zone. So as Gary just said, we have Spencer back because, as you guys maybe you didn't see last time, as Gary said, he has a very pressing issue. His wife and child are very sick due to the living conditions of their home, both, I guess, past and present, if I'm not mistaken. And so he's contacted everybody he can think of, from Congress people, city council people. And I'm telling you that the documentation is so deep. I have actually seen all of the documentation. This man has literally reached out to everybody to help him. And, you know, his pleas for help have gone unanswered. I've seen messages from council people saying, well, I've done all I can do. There's nothing I can do. And, you know, a whole host of things. And in the meantime, as he said, you know, his wife is very ill to the point of, you know, I hate to say it, but possible death. And his child is, I think you said, on kidney dialysis and all of those things. So as Gary said, we're going to have him on here as much as possible until we are able to get him some help. Go ahead. Oh, and so as he said too, Gary has pulled his endorsement from Judge Ursula due to her involvement. We don't know necessarily to what degree, but she's involved. And we don't like when people are getting the short end of the stick, especially when it has to do with life and death. So we're going to spend this hour to dig a little bit deeper into what is actually going on and what needs to take place. And so, Donovan, before we kick it back to Gary.
Well, yeah, like I said, I have got into the case. I've got some documents. I contacted the Congressional Black Talkers. And of course, they are going to say it's not in our jurisdiction to help. But being black is black. So how is that not in your jurisdiction? But they have these rules where they don't want to overstep another congressional person's situation, whatever. Forget all that. The humanity of the situation dictates that they should step in. We have no problem going overseas and helping those people over there and taking over countries. But when it comes to our own people here, we refuse to do it. And, you know, I'm just saying, look at the case, look at what the paperwork that's there. How could you sit as a human being and say, there's nothing I can do? You're a congressional person. There's somebody you can refer this person to. Sheila Jackson Lee's office referred me back to my own congressional person who isn't black. That it's just a big old runaround game. And this is what we're talking about. We keep electing these people who supposedly look like us and supposedly are for us. And we're finding out these people are just as bad as the system that they operate within.
So I'm gonna ask you, Spence. Can you give the people, so we can catch them up, a real brief synopsis of what is actually going on, and then we'll dive off into it.
5-star. I reached out to, I really don't know how many city council members. Remember, I told you I was on that 3-minute session call, and they heard me crying about this landfill and about these apartments, about this pastor that owns the majority of it. But no one came to my cry. And I reached out to Sheila Jackson Lee. I've been reaching out to Sheila Jackson for 40 weeks now on this situation, and she's never even batted an eye, even came to my, even, she hasn't even came. And, you know, I had an attorney on this case 3 years ago. Here in February, he withdrew from the case, not telling me why. He snuck off the case. He filed bogus documents in court. On the January 24th, he filed all the bogus documents, filed it in the court. The judge let him off the case. Since he got off the case, there's all kind of stuff been going on with the defense counsel. They've been filing motions, taking motions back, hiding motions so that I don't have a chance to answer them, so that I wouldn't, like be in default judge. All the orders that the judge, sit down to send to the plaintiff and the defendant, all has been going to the pastor's defense. 1401 McKinney Street, 17th floor. So all my white mail been going to the 14th floor on McKinney Street. For 8 months, we haven't received nothing from the court. No pleading saying we got a court date on October 1st. No paper saying we have a court date this month, which is next, this.
Spence, you got it. You got to find it. Spence, you have to find the spot.
What's going on my computer? See, we have a court.
Spence, can you?
Spencer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Spencer, we really need to be able to understand what you're saying. So you're going to have to move. Okay, Spencer. We really need to we cannot hear a word you're saying, and we know what you have to say is very important. So we're going to need you to get to a connect or somewhere where your connection is a little bit better, because it was really going in and out. Go ahead and say something now.
Can you hear me now?
We hear you now.
I haven't juice problems, but
you got to go. You got to go do what you got to do, and then we'll take it from here until you get back. So I want to say this here. As I said, Spencer, you ready to go ahead?
Can you hear me now?
We hear you.
Okay, all right, I'm on.
Okay, go ahead. So start over quickly.
Okay, quickly. I reached out to Sheila Jackson Lee. I've been reaching out to Sheila Jackson Lee for 40 weeks. In January, I sent her a Privacy Reform Act stating all my situation, my cries. She still hadn't reached out to me to this day. Sheila Jackson Lee sent me to her office on McKinley Street, at the Mickey Leland building. I'm sorry, the Mickey Leland building, and told me to go speak with this guy named Mr. Freeman, which was smoke. They blow so much smoke, it's coming out my mouth about the pastor. All right, I reached out to Letitia Plummer. Letitia Plummer heard me on the 3-minute session. She sent me a message in my inbox and told me, Mr. Farwell, she saw the video that y'all saw the last time I was on the show. She was like, Mr. Farwell, this is unacceptable. I'll do anything to help you. She gave me her number, but when I called her and I told her the situation, I haven't heard from her since. And Jefferson Renee Smith, that's my god sister's first cousin. She was the first one to reach out to me. When my daughter was in Texas Children's Hospital, getting that trait, well, I call it a trait. It's not called a trait, but for the dialysis, whatever she had to go get the surgery. So she was getting that put in. So Jefferson Renee Smith was supposed to go meet with her. And when she found out that I had a suit against the pastor, she said, send me everything. I want to know everything. So I sent her everything, all these filthy pictures last summer. To this day, I haven't heard from her. She contacted me a few times when they had like a city council meeting at the Multi-Purpose Center when I told them I was coming just to try to see what I was going to say. All I've been wanting to talk about was this landfill that this pastor bought and built this apartment complex on. Spread it dirt, built this apartment complex on, and now it's tearing off on itself. All the apartments over there are full of mold. It's ridiculous. And I can't get help from the city of Houston because they sold him the property. That's why the health department never came to help me.
Well,
That's
when I spoke,
yes, sir.
When I spoke to the pastor, because I spoke to him, not to the deacon, to the pastor, the first thing he told me is that, one, he was not aware of your case. And I let him talk. He said he was not aware of your case. But what you're telling me, what you're telling all of us, is that the pastor knew about your case 3 years ago.
The pastor knew about this case 3 years ago. I sent him a message a year and a half ago to try to get him to come help me and my wife and my kids. The pastor sent me a message back that said it's too far gone. That's what he told me a year and a half ago. It was too far gone. That's before I learned about this landfill. He told me it was too far gone. So you know me, for 3 years, day for day, every day, I sit in front of this computer right here, trying to give justice for my wife. And like I told you.
Okay, so let me say this. Now, when I also talked to the pastor, he said a bunch of stuff. One, he was very, very cocky.
Oh,
you know, like he didn't care realistically. His mind, his attitude was like he didn't really give a damn what I was saying. You know, but I knew he was concerned because he was trying to do damage control on Facebook during the day, or whoever was working their social media was trying to do damage control and make it look like I didn't know what I was talking about. Well, I'm only reporting what I've seen. So the pastor made some other claims. One, he said he never knew about what was going on. And I knew that was a lie because the documentation tells itself. And this is where I got confused, Demetri and Donald. He say he never knew about this. He also say that the lawsuit was dismissed. But according to the documents we done seen, it's an ongoing lawsuit. Demetri?
Yeah, and like I said, Spencer and I have been in communication here and there over the last, I'd say, month, and he sent me copious amounts of documentation, including correspondence with the council people that he listed, and a 142-page a document about the landfill and different toxins and cancers and all of that stuff that's involved. And so it's like, how is it that, and a whole bunch of other documents. So how is it that I've seen the documents, but the pastor is unaware of the documents or the situation at hand? So, clearly he's not telling the truth.
Well, according to the pastor, he has a management company that deals with the property. But as I told him, what does that matter if you have a management company that deals with the property? The property was built on top of a toxic landfill. Well, I give away free food, and since the pandemic started, I've been letting people live for free. And I honestly told him, who gives a damn? I'm talking about a man that's trying to save his wife, and you people are playing games as usual. You feel what I'm saying? So the one thing that I had to do when I dug into it, I hear all these names that Spence naming. So the only thing I'm dealing with is sitting elected officials. That's what I'm dealing with. Now, those that are not elected officials, if they offered to help and they didn't, charge that to the game. Let's deal with the ones that's actually sitting in them seats. I got a problem with Sheila Jackson Lee as far as ignoring this, basically ignoring the cancer clusters in Acres Homes as well as Fifth Ward. You see what I'm saying? When it's coming to our people dying because of this toxic stuff that's going on, she seems not to be where she needs to be, and that's a headache for me. Go ahead, Spence.
Demetri, if you're looking at $27,000 EPA report, Sheila Jackson Lee initiated it back in 2003. So she was aware of this property before anything was built on it. Because the concern, can y'all hear me? The concern was about the residential area that was on West Donovan. You see in that report to where it say old West Donovan dump? That was the concern about the residence that was on West Donovan Street. This guy that worked for the civic community, Acres Home Civic, his name was James Smith. Rest in peace, Mr. Smith. He was wondering why everybody on this side of West Donovan was dying from cancer. All the landfill was in their backyard. He was wondering why everybody on West Donovan was dying from different kinds of cancer. So that's what he was raising hell, getting petitions for the neighbors to sign. And that's what brought the EPA out in 2003. Sheila Lee Jackson's name is at the end. If you read that report, she's in there. It say Jackson Lee. It's her, Congressman woman.
Well, the city of Houston, as well as the Houston Housing Authority, is about to do the same thing again when they expand the I-45 freeway. They're going to displace a lot of low-income housing people from the Kelly Courts and, you know, those spaces like that, the projects, and they're going to put them in a new spot. If we go back and remember, you know, some of the stuff that Wayne Delacefino put up about Rodney Ellis's wife and, you know, building these apartments on these toxic, you know, landfills, they're about to do the same thing. Donovan?
Yeah, I just want to kind of say, like I always tell people on this show, money makes the world go round. Money makes people don't give a damn about children, families, whatever, because it's about the money. But my question is this. In the years that you've been fighting this suit, your medical costs, what does that cost you in medical costs to keep your wife and your daughter sustainable to get through all of this stuff?
Man, I'm gonna tell you like this, Donovan. Right now, back in 2017, my wife, Dr. Bill, was $500,000. So right now they're telling her she can't even walk right now without getting the injections in her knee, steroid shots. Her knees about this big. She can't even bend them because of all the inflammation. So like I say now, this not even including my daughter. See, my daughter moved into the apartments. She had a kidney problem. But going through that place for 2 leases ruined her kidneys. She already had a kidney problem, but going through that, now she on dialysis. Her kidneys were getting better. I don't even know the number because she's on disability, so we don't get to see the bills or none of that because Medicaid pays hers. Thank God. But I see.
Well, let me ask you a question about your wife and the medical
yes,
side.
Sir.
Isn't it inside of her? And I don't want to, step on toes. If you don't want to answer, you don't have to answer
anything, man.
But I think, okay, isn't it documented inside of her medical files that they found mold spores inside of her?
This motion I told you, I prayed to God that hit today, and it hit today. Contradicted everything they've been saying all these years about it wasn't no mold in her system. But they found 0.07 of Aspergillus mold in her system. That's the mold that could cause her condition, and that's the mold that was a high rate in that apartment. So yes, today I filed a paper in court showing that there was mold in her system. But they had on the other end, it's like a flag range to where if it's not 0.49, it's not harmful. But y'all be like, well, what if she was allergic to it? It did her really bad. My wife went through 3 blood transfusions, and I can't tell you how many doses of steroids. I can't tell you how many different antibiotics she took. They were trying to get that mold out of her to try to make her better at Herman Hospital. But at the end, they started testing to see what the number was, and it was going down. And when they tested her last time, with they charged $165 for each shot they gave her. It was 0.07 of mold still left in her. But if they would have checked that like a year and a half while she was living there, 2015, 16, it would have been off the roof. So those defense attorneys took that insert and made a defense out of it. They took a part of the mold test that said acceptable. They left out the but. They just took the green acceptable, made a defense, and for 3 years, they done filed 5 summary judgments. They just filed one that went on the website. August the 5th, I stay in front of this thing since all the trickery been going on. August the 5th, they filed the motion and took it off. And I looked for that motion for 10 days. And when it came back on, it was a court date, a hearing for October the 1st of 2020. That's next month, the 1st. But they hid that, they concealed that motion way down in February file to where I couldn't see it. So I wouldn't have enough time to answer that motion for summary judgment, and that would put our case in default. But I caught it, and I filed a motion, and I asked the judge to correct it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Let me ask you a question, and then I'll pass to Demetri. These motions that they're filing, how do you even find out that you got to go to court if all of a sudden, you know, you're not getting any mail, no court notices, no nothing? So how are you finding out that you got to go to court?
You know, back in February, when our lawyer withdrew off the case, for what reason, I don't know. The judge gave me 90 days to find another attorney. So while I've been looking for attorneys, and I really actually speak to one, and I give them the case number and they pull it up, they'll be like, oh, you know, they filed a summary judgment. You know, you need to answer that. And there I go, running around like a broke neck chicken, not a lawyer, trying to figure out how to put a motion together to file the answer so my wife's case won't get thrown out of court. But it was through other people, other attorneys that was looking into the case, letting me know that there was motions being filed that I had to answer in a certain amount of days, or I'll get in trouble with the court.
So let me ask you this, Spencer, because I just want to clarify. I found the EPA report that you sent me, and I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. So basically, the site name is Booger Landfill. Is that correct? All right, and the address is 1400 West Donovan.
That's right, 1400 West Donovan. Or if you switch over to Tidwell in the same position, it's 1400 West Tidwell. See, back when the landfill, back before the Tidwell came through, it wasn't Tidwell, it was just open prayer. And that was the landfill. All right.
So what I see here, it says in the discussion part of it, it says the Booger Landfill site, also known as the West Donovan Landfill,
yes.
was an unpermitted municipal landfill operated by Raymond Booger from the late 1960s to the early 1970s. It says operations at the landfill began in approximately 1969. The disposal of unpermitted municipal waste landfilled over several years on site may have caused soil contamination. This contaminated soil was the sole source identified as causing potential exposure to susceptible receptors. The source area encompasses approximately, 1,306 something square feet, and I probably got the numbers wrong, so forgive me, and is unlined, has no maintained engineered cover, and no run-on or runoff management system.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right, and so just in that paragraph there, it's saying some pretty funky stuff was going on with that landslide. So, am I correct in saying that they built over that?
They built over it.
Got it. When was that apartment structure built or that home built?
I don't know exactly when, but
it was after 1969.
Oh yes, it was built like 2003. The EPA was out there and did that report you're reading, and if you read around it, it was a big prayer. It was no apartments built. It was none of that.
Okay, so was it built in the 2000s?
Yes, I think in the 2000s.
2004 is what I see on there.
That's when the EPA was out there, and it was a naked field, so it had to be built like right after. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so there's the documentation there. So I mean, like, how do we know that? And the pastor and the people who sold it to him, which it sounds like it's the city, sold him that land. How would they not know that if he was able to get the EPA report on the land? Donovan?
Yeah, like I said, it's something that we really gotta look at, because this is what's going on even by our people that look like us. What are our lives worth when it's about the money? I mean, right here in LA, we had a stadium that was built that displaced hundreds of Black families by gentrification. Everybody's watching football and doing what they got to do, but what did it cost us for that stadium to be built? And what is it costing those people right there in Houston that are living on a toxic dump? And here's the thing, that had to be approved by the city. Somebody had to approve that. So which makes the liability in it their responsibility. Now, I'm just saying, for me, the cost, yes, it might cost $50 million, maybe even more, to get the people off of there and compensate them or whatever. But what is Black lives worth when they just say, you know what, no matter what reports you have, no matter what you got, we don't give a damn. These people are Black. It is what it is. It's unacceptable. This is just unacceptable. And everybody down there in Houston should be doing something.
Now, I tell y'all what, a lot of y'all say y'all tagging attorneys. I want you to tag the best in the business. I want you to tag a man that wins awards every single year, that sat on this panel one night. I need each one of y'all to tag Tony Busby. This is right up his alley. This is right up his alley. Go ahead, Spence. Go ahead.
Since the first of the year for the pandemic.
Well, guess what? We finna reach out to him.
You know, reason I reached out to him? Because the mayor of Houston had a problem with him. So I was like, since the mayor had a problem with him, this ought to be right up his alley to try to help me come clean up Acres Home, man. Because they called our neighborhood.
Well, I'm not gonna make excuses for him, but I know he's very, very busy. So now we finna see if we can get to him so that he can get to this
messenger.
Yeah, I just saw it. It basically says what I just read.
It tell me, if you keep reading, they say it was 9 landfills cited within 0.05 miles. Now, 0.5 miles of the Booker landfill. The Booker landfill was 31 acres. So now if you put 9 other landfills around the 31 acres, can you imagine the spread of that property that's contaminated with mold since the 60s? When they came, they called our neighborhood the bottom of Acres Home, the bottom. I had an Aunt Thay that used to live in the bottom on Mansfield. When we used to go visit at night, it used to smell so bad and the water used to taste bad. And now that I'm old and I realize what's going on, that landfill, that whole area, and it's not right. That's why, I kind of told you I'm kind of afraid now, because I'm uncovering something that, but if anything happens to me, y'all already know who did it.
Yeah, and that's why, as I was actually telling Gary that, you expressed to me that you were a little bit fearful that something may happen to you because you've actually uncovered stuff that you didn't know needed to be uncovered. You didn't have any idea that it was actually going to go that deep. And there's so many players involved. But, I think it's fair to say, from what we have heard, and I want to throw allegedly because we don't want to get in trouble here. But
Yes, ma'am.
It sounds like the pastor is not telling the truth, and a whole lot of other people that you reached out to, and you sent me the correspondence with a lot of the Congress, the city council people, and you are pleading and begging with them to help you, and it went, pretty much went on deaf ears, and so I just don't understand it. But Gary, you said something. You said, some of those people aren't like technically sitting on the seat. So I guess it's fair, but we're not sitting on the seat either. How hard is it for them? Because they got more, access to the people on the seat than we do. This man is, he's brought forth all of his evidence to say that there is something here. He's not making this up. So I don't understand. What I do understand, because it sounds like everybody's in bed with the same person or people, but do something like, it's like, this is my problem. Okay. When we heard that Trump found out, or we found out that Trump knew about the COVID and how bad it really was, people lost their minds. People says, oh, well, there's people, he's got a lot of death on his hands. Well, all of these people that got wind in the information of what's going on with these landfills, they potentially will have death on their hands for not doing anything about it. It's one thing to say, oh, okay, well, I hear you. And it's another thing to actually do something about it. Like, how hard can it be?
Mm-hmm. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to reach out when we get off of here. I'm going to reach out to Sheila Jackson Lee's opponent, Wendell Champion. He's not in the seat, but if he wins, that would be his representation. That would be Spence and his wife's representation. I'm going to do everything I can to help because this is ridiculous. This is a prime example of why I can't. That's why I say I didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me. And these Democrats that could help Spence, they are not there. They've left him. They've left his wife. You see what I'm saying? So we got to be careful who we pushing these buttons for on November 3rd.
Well, can I say this, though? If this is going on in Spence's area, and I know they're building all of these new nice home structures there in Houston and doing all that, for those of you guys that are sitting on your hands thinking, oh, wow, poor Spence, that can't happen to me or whatever, are you sure? Are you sure these homes that they're building, are you sure that you're not sitting on a nuclear dump, a toxic dump, or ammunitions dump? Are you sure? Because if it could happen to Spence, money talks. Do you think they care? So when they're gentrifying, like what happened to us here in California, when they gentrified LA and put that stadium there, we were thinking, oh, it's never going to happen out here. South Central LA, you're going to put a brand new stadium? What happened? The stadium opened last Sunday. You guys have got to get involved, and we got to stick together and hold these people accountable. Yes, the documents go deeper than just the toxicity of the housing area. A lot of the Houston political elite are in these documents.
Well, the connection is the corrupt city of Houston. I mean, all they have done over the years is just mess over people, mess over communities, the whole 9 yards. This is why Acres Homes look like it looks. This is why certain parts of Third Ward, not all of it, looks like it looks. Sunnyside, South Park. You feel what I'm saying? It looks like it looks because these people are full of, what they full of. And the only way that we're going to ever be able to fix this, we got to get these people out of office, man. We have to get these people out of office, man.
Spencer, what were you gonna say?
All right, I want to say, check your email. I sent you some pictures I want you to put up.
I just got it.
Okay.
Let's see.
I want you to put those pictures up, and I want to talk about that right now. And that's the 2100 block of West Tidwell, on that corner right there. And that last text I sent you through your messenger that talked about the 2100 block of West Tidwell, that is the property right there. That yellow page with the yellow on the top, that's the property right there that we're talking about, that you finna put up. I guess it used to be a tire dump, but it don't make no sense. You know, I pass by there every day to try to see the progress, and they're just, when y'all see these pictures, oh, y'all not gonna believe this, but we're finna talk about this. We got a few more minutes.
Yeah, I just don't understand how a city can approve a housing project on top of a toxic dump. It's just unimaginable to me that if somebody said, yeah, this is okay, go ahead.
I mean, but they did it back when Spence and them, you know, back in 2003, around that, you know, time frame. But I mean, they're getting ready to do this again right now.
Right now.
With the people that have to be displaced because of the I-45 expansion. They're going to take, you know, with Rodney Ellis's wife and whatever that real estate company she represents, is going to build low-income affordable housing on top of land that Wayne Dolosofino has already confirmed is toxic land. So this is just their regular MO. This is their regular modus operandi to build this stuff on top of that, you know, these contaminated lands, and then all of a sudden we just all start dying from the same thing.
Go ahead and put the pictures up. I shared it, Gary. If you can, because I know you're doing it from your phone.
Hold on, let me try. I think you may have to put them up because I can't do it.
Yeah, I don't have control of the show.
Hold on, let me try something else. That's not it. I won't be able to do it through the phone.
Don't worry. So we'll have to do it another time. But I'm actually looking at these photos. I'm actually looking at them, and it's pretty bad. It's like tires and, you know, just a whole bunch of nonsense that looks like it was unearthed when they dug into the ground. And I do see the apartments that are right next to.
I want to say something about those apartments. That is an upper class gated community that they uncovered once they bulldozed that forest right there on that corner. It uncovered that gated community. Upper class gated community.
So the upper class people living on toxic land?
Man, knock it off. 5-star they is. They don't know it. They don't know it, man.
Oh, that's when they go to the game.
Hey, I'm gonna say this. Right there with that neighborhood that you see gated, that is where the EPA was disturbed about those folks' backyard on West Donovan. It's sitting right there on top of it. She done knew this. And I know one thing. She's a grandmother and she's a mother first. And how dare her allow this to happen to all these folks that live on this field. 13 years later, she's been knowing about this all this time.
Yeah, you know what else she is? Rich. And I'm going to say this. She's rich because of this stuff. So at the end of the day, money is always going to supersede, or it's not always, but especially when it comes to politicians, money is going to supersede morals, right? And people. We see it all day long. But I want to say this to everybody watching. This is exactly what happens when we continue to vote for oppression, right? We're hearing that this woman, Sheila Jackson Lee, knew this for 13 years or so, and she's had to be reelected sometime during that 13 years, right? So why do we keep voting for oppression, especially a lot in these Democratic ran areas? And I'm not a Republican at all, but we see what they do to Black people in these areas. Like I saw somebody say, why would they build, you know, a housing or whatever on toxic land? Because they know not saying y'all, but they know we aren't going to, for one, know about it. And when we do know about it, they know our hands are tied because we don't have the money to fight them legally. And, you know, it's big pockets or big fish eat little fish. And so they continue to give us the runaround while they're making money off of the death and the votes of people. That's how that works. But stop voting for those people. Like if Sheila Jackson Lee is in the know of this, and Spencer, I believe you when you say that she knows. Why is she sitting on the seat? Why?
Well, she's sitting now. I can tell you this because we don't do the research. She's sitting there because we just go in there and we push the button based on name recognition. We don't look at what these people are actually doing, what they can do, or whatever. This is a congressional issue. This is something that can be dealt with in Washington, D.C. from a grander scale because the city of Houston is in cahoots with developers, real estate people to build these places on top of this toxic land. So I have no respect for that. And at the end of the day, you know, she'll probably never speak to me again, but who gives a damn? You don't put gas in my car. I mean, I'm going to tell the truth. It is what it is.
Let me just say this real quick. Angela Thompson, how are you doing this very fine evening? But I am like, I don't want to say I'm sick of you, but I'm sick of people like you. You say vote for Trump, we'll be voting for oppression. Trump is not running those motherfucking neighborhoods where our people are living on top of landfills, and it's people like you that want to throw in red herrings and things that absolutely have nothing to do with what we're talking about. You want to blame Trump, but Trump wasn't in office as long as Sheila Jackson Lee has been in office, ignoring the pleas of people who are dying. So you are part of the problem, and it's probably people like you. In fact, I would bet everything I own that it's people like you that continue going into the booths and voting for oppression for the rest of people who want help. You should be ashamed of yourself and stop bringing up Trump. Trump has nothing to do with this issue right now.
Thank you.
Zero, exactly. You know, Trump is on the federal level. Please, you guys, learn, take government in college. Even if you're not getting a degree, go and take government. Sheila Jackson Lee and any congressional representative, those are the people that directly affect you. Trump can't do nothing about Houston and at that level where my man is. Yeah. Go ahead.
Look here. In June, I went on that 3-minute session. City Council. You know, I tell you, I don't know how many people I reached out to, but I know everybody was on that call that heard me, that could have done something, but they didn't because it's too big. It's just too big. And it's too much land to cover. So I'm just saying right now, what we going to do? I'm here now. It's out. What we going to do about it? They're in Fifth Ward talking about that council cluster. What we going to do about our council cluster over here in the bottom of Acres Home? What we going to do? Mansfield, DeSoto, Paul Quinn, Tidwell, Creek Mountain, Pine Mountain. What we going to do? What we going to do about it? 31 acres plus 9 other landfills. That's a lot of property. So
we're going to do what we normally do, not a goddamn thing. As long as they can continue to get rich off the demise of poor black people, that's the only thing they want to do.
Shit ain't right. It's affecting my family.
Well, my thing is this, Spence, and I always think about this. You know, your wife is sick, your daughter's sick. You're on the clock. These people are on the clock. And as long as people sit on their asses and sit on their hands, that clock is running. And that's your loved one. And you're doing everything possible to get them the help that they need. You're reaching out to people that are supposedly supposed to be there to help you. And yet nothing's being done. People are just thinking that they have all the time in the world. Your family is on the clock, my brother. So we got to get in there and get this done. We're not talking about it. We're going to get it done.
Thank you, Don. Everybody pockets is getting greased by this cotton picking pastor. You know, I call him the booger man because he not right.
Well, I mean, again, like I said, we keep voting for that, and usually it's the other way around. Usually it's the pastor that's, trailing behind the politicians trying to get good favor. But in this case, it seems like the politicians, are trying to get good favor for him. But at the end of the day, the pastor and the politicians are supposed to serve the people, and they are not serving the people. They're ignoring, like people's lives are at stake here, and they just keep passing the buck. But that's what they do. They just it's just bureaucracy at its worst. They just keep passing the buck. Well, you need to go actually talk to them. I don't know. I didn't know about it. And and we don't have that kind of money to fight big politics. And so we just go on and, don't have our issues solved. But I'm telling you, stop voting for them. Stop voting for oppression. You got to stop.
5-star.
I'm here.
Man, I need a teacher, man. I need a teacher. I need you to teach me how to peaceful protest. I need you to teach
I tell you what, we can do one Sunday in front of church.
I need you to teach me, man, since the pastor don't want to act right, since he know he wrong, in 3 years, he could have made it right. A year and a half, he sent message over here, told me it was too far gone by his niece and nephew who cleaned his church up. Tay John's mom and dad, he told me it was too far gone. It's too far gone now. But it ain't too late for you to do the right thing, man, with my family, man. It ain't too far. It ain't too late.
Well, I tell you what, I tell all of them this here. If y'all want to help Spence, I'll be in front of church 9 o'clock Sunday morning. We ain't got to do it secretly. Just show up.
Just show up.
Just show up.
Hey, and everybody on this Facebook that got love for me, I need y'all to show up. Everybody called and worked on and did good jobs and good deeds for y'all, I need y'all to show up. In Jesus' name.
Show up every Sunday. Show up every Sunday and build a presence and let people know what's going on. In addition to, stop spending money somewhere. If we shut this down, I know we're a long way off from that, but I'm just speaking, I guess, in the future. If we stop spending money until we as Black people get justice, then these politicians are going to start listening. But yes, most definitely, I would build a presence every Sunday at his church and let the people know exactly what he is up to. He had his people come out there and lie. I saw the live feed where they came out there and lied and said, oh, pastor don't know nothing about it. Oh, it's not landfill. They just completely lied for the cat.
Hey, they nose ought to be this long. Especially that one that had the little cool hat on and said, it's never been a landfill. I've been here 58 years. The landfill started at the 1400. Do you know he got a set of apartments called the enclaves at the 1200 block of West Tidwell? You can throw a rock at it from the 1400 block. Runoff is runoff. Toxic runoff. If you Google toxic runoff near Roslyn and Tidwell, that's what they were talking about. Toxic runoff was running out the field, running into the drain. Toxic out the middle of the field, just to creeping to the street, Tidwell, running down into the drain, into our sewage system. Toxic runoff. Look it up on Google. And he had nerve enough to run himself out there, talking about he's 58 years old, talking about his Uncle Barbershop. Brother, sit down. This here has affected my family, man. I gotta watch my daughter hook up to a dialysis machine every night at 9 o'clock, brother. And I gotta listen to her cough her lungs out all night. Every 18 seconds, she coughing for 15 seconds. And you had the nerve to run out here trying to defend this pastor. I call him the booger man. He can still make it right. He still can make it right. He can do what's right for them folk over on that landfill. Because God is in control. And I want to apologize right quick to everybody in the church that don't have anything to do with it, that ain't condoning in all this slumlord. I call it slumlordism. You know what I'm saying? I just made the word up. We got racism. We got slumlordism. You hear me? And that's what this pastor them built his foundation on Tidwell, on the landfill. That's slum. And if anybody listening don't believe me, just drive through any one of his establishments on Tidwell. You don't gotta knock on no doors. Just walk up to the people windows and look in it, and look at that green film inside everybody's window. You know, everybody don't pay attention about that green film because they paying their light bills, cable bills, car notes. They going to work all day, coming home glad to be home. I ain't looking in the windows, but pay attention to them windows. Take them vents down. If you live on Tidwell, and if you take your vent down, I put it on everything I love. It's gonna be the booger man behind there. And that landfill is tailing off on itself.
Just you know, I can imagine being in your position, seeing the people that you love being affected by people who are just straight up demons. They're evil and they're greedy. They're putting money, you know, and I just like, I don't go to church. I haven't been to church in a very long time because I know what happened at church. I know that a lot of times, not all, but a lot of times those pastors sit up there and they pretend like they love the people. They don't give a damn about people. Because if he gave a damn about people, ain't no way in hell he would have done what he's done and doing what he's doing and continuing to lie about it. But what I will just say this, Vincent, I admire your fight and you not giving up, you know, on seeking not only, you know, justice, but to, you know, help your wife and your child. There's a lot of men out there who wouldn't do half of the things that you're doing. And so as long as we can help you, you know, I'm all in.
Thank you so much. And I want to apologize again to the church, to all the people that don't have nothing to do with it.
Nah. You don't owe the church an apology. Their pastor owes them an apology for even putting you in that situation. You don't owe them an apology. Stop apologizing to people and you didn't have nothing to do with it. Donovan had to go because he has class, but you don't owe the church an apology.
This shit ain't right.
No, I don't think you owe them an apology. I think that, you know, a lot of days men don't get the credit they deserve. But I mean, you're standing up for your wife, and that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to walk that walk because she can't walk it right now. You know, so, you know, those that don't understand it, they don't need to understand it. You know, but if you're looking at somebody and you're looking at the qualities of a strong husband, then I think they could look right inside of you and see this is what a husband is supposed to do.
Yeah. You know, I wanted to apologize because, you know, I had so many coming in my inbox, just like they came in your inbox. But every time they came in my inbox, I gave them something to sit down and read. And they ain't came back because I gave them the truth. It's deep. It's deep. It's really deeper in the past. It's deeper in the pastor, but we gotta do something about the people that still living there. You know.
Who was coming into your inbox? Was it the congregation? People in the congregation?
Yeah, somebody in the congregation. Somebody in the congregation. And you know what? 4 nights ago, you know, I can't sleep either. So I guess he can't sleep either. He sent me a friend request on Facebook, probably 3:30 in the morning. About 4 days ago, Pastor Matthews did. I ain't know what it was for. I ain't respond. I just accepted it, you know, just so we can see what's going on. You know? I don't know. That's why I tell you I'm kind of afraid, you know, because everybody that know the guy that tell man, you better be careful. You better be careful, man, because he ain't always been a pastor. That's what they tell me.
And it's like, you know, and I'm so sick of church people. I swear. You know, they rather defend their pastor, not just that church, but a lot of churches. They know what's going on in that church. They'll defend that pastor and everything he's doing to the death. I mean, whether it's not saying this church, but like with Eddie Long, you know, he had all those accusations of, you know, child molestation and all of that, and the pastors, they was there for him thick and thin. I personally know of churches where there was rape, you know, molestation, and the congregation was like, oh no, that pastor, you know, I know they lying on him. It's like, so you gonna tell me to be careful, but you won't go to your pastor and say, hey, you know, we pay a lot of tithes and offerings in this mug, and we hearing about this man whose family is being affected by something that you're doing. And people don't understand the pastor is actually beholden to you. You are the flock, you're the sheep, and he's supposed to answer to you. But people get so afraid in church. Oh no, we can't ask nothing. A lightning bolt might come down and strike us down the ground. You know, he's supposed to answer to you. But I know if I was paying tithes and offering in that church and I heard your story, I'd be going to see him and ask him what's going on with that. I cannot sit in your church in good faith knowing that there's people out there dying and you're making money off of that.
Yeah. You know, somebody contacted me out the church too. One of the young pastors out the church. Can you hear me?
They're going to keep contacting you to try to do damage control.
That's all right. God is in control. And thus said the Lord.
Well, I tell you what, Demetri, final thoughts?
Well, you know, my final thoughts are, Spencer, hang in there. I know how you feel. Well, I haven't actually been in your shoes per se, but I know how you feel in being afraid, because you do have a lot of information that could destroy a lot of people. And so I understand that you're afraid for your life, but we just want to, you know, say it here that he's afraid for his life. And if something happens to him, we know where to go looking. And where to send people to go looking. If something happens to this man, because he is fighting, he is doing what anybody would do. Fight for the life of his family. So don't try to do anything to him because he's fighting for the life of his family. Your money don't mean more than his family. So don't try to do nothing to him. Give the man what he wants. That's justice and help for his family, so everybody can go on with their life. But I'm gonna tell you this much, Spencer. Now that upper scale neighborhood is involved, you know there's a lot of white folks live over there. When they find out, they gonna hold them accountable.
Yeah, for sure.
My final thoughts are simple. Meet me there Sunday morning, 9 o'clock. Put your mask on, put a cap on. They ain't gonna know who you is. Man, come out there and support this man. 9 o'clock Sunday morning in front of the church. I had a bullhorn ready, but this time I ain't leaving. This time, and Pastor, I'm letting you know, I'm coming. I don't give a damn about you calling no HPD, because I can protest peacefully right where I need to protest. And more importantly, I don't like the way you talk to me, nigga. I don't like the way you tried to handle me. And remember what I told you when I hung up in your face? Do you know Lucifer? Well, you about to meet him. I'll turn into the devil to help this angel. I don't care. So with that being said, Spence, we're going to get you back on here for an update in the near future, because we're not going to let it go. We just not going to let it go. And that's what it is. So those that want to show up Sunday, come on, hang out with your boy, man. I'm going to post up. I'm going to make a flyer. I'm going to put it up. And come on out there and hang out with us, because it don't take 500 people to move a mountain. It just takes some dedicated people. So if it's 10 of us out there, that's 10 that they don't want out there. That's 10 that's going to make them nervous. So with that being said, he'll be back on Facebook again, trying to do damage control again. Go ahead, Spence.
And Pastor, I need you to tell that old crooked ass defense attorney you got in the courthouse, you need to get it right.
Well, in the courthouse, like I said, Judge Ursula Hall has his case. I pulled my endorsement from Ursula. I gave it to her opponent, because I'm not going to sit back and support people that allow this type of stuff to go on in their courtrooms. It's not going to happen. So that means that if I'm going to support the opponent, that means I'm going to go all in to try to help this opponent beat him. So, you know, if that's the case, then so be it. If not, I'm gonna stay on your ass for the next 2 to 4 years anyway, because this cannot happen in a court of law. Well, that's one reason when I filed my lawsuit against HISD, I refused to go to state court because I already knew that the judges are bought and paid for. I already knew it. So that's why I decided to go to federal court, where I knew they wasn't going to go up in there, and stood in front of a white Republican judge, and I won. And I won. So, you know, if y'all down with it, Sunday morning, man, come on with it. I'm going to put the flyer up. Man, let's go stand up. Let's go make some noise. And we going to praise and worship in front of church and see if that's going to wake up the pastor and he'll do the godly thing. So on behalf of...
Hey, if you do the godly thing before, now I'm going to let y'all know. So we don't have to go that route. But that's the last thing. I'm going to let everybody know that's the last thing that I want to do, man. You know, this led me to the church. The problems my family been going through. I've been going to church right now since the pandemic. I ain't been doing too much but fighting this case since the lawyer withdrew from the case. But for 2 years and 9 months, I've been right there in the bottom on that same landfill going to church. You hear me? Now that I investigated, my church allowed to be on the landfill. But I've been praising God for 2 years, praying that God at least make him do right, man. You know, you're a man of God. You're a shepherd calling all the lost sheep. He even sent me an invitation to my address telling me to come join his church. I still got it. He gave me an invitation to come, me and my sister, to come join his church. And you doing my wife like this. The lawyers in the court say they owe her no duty. Y'all ain't gonna believe if this don't go good. Y'all ain't gonna believe this here. Because I'm gonna have to bring it to y'all and y'all gonna have to put it on the air. It's unbelievable. And like right now, the stuff that's going on inside the court, I don't know who. I cannot say Judge Ursula Hall had anything to do with this. I cannot, and I refuse to. But under her, whoever switched my wife's address to the defense counsel, that ain't right. They denied us. We haven't got no correspondence from the court this year since they made our lawyer withdrew off the case. Still to this day, he haven't gave me a good explanation why he withdrew.
Okay.
Thank God. I had enough sense to keep the motions going into the court to try to keep the case alive. I reach out to so many attorneys. They'll look into this case. When they see who is involved, and I'm left on my own like now. I have a court date on the 28th. But I'm going in there just like this, with my overalls on like Uncle Jesse. Thank God.
We'll bring you back on another day. We'll do a follow-up on it. And in the meantime, man, I want to thank y'all for tuning in, because it's always an experience. And on behalf of my good friend Donovan Sadiq, he had to go to class. The Queen, Demetri K., I'm the 5-star general. Until tomorrow, we'll holler.
Peace.